From overcoming adolescent difficulties to starring on Criminal Minds, Matthew Gray Gubler has had quite the journey. Throughout the years, he's always been creating and finding new ways to bring his free-spirited personality to his fans. Here's a look at the transformation of Matthew Gray Gubler. Matthew Gray Gubler's story begins in Las Vegas, where he was born in 1980. Celebs may be gorgeous otherworldly figures with legions of fans, but even they're not immune to having experienced the boundless cruelty of bullies as youngsters. Gubler may be something of a heartthrob now, but he was picked on as a child. However, he ultimately views being bullied, or rather overcoming being bullied, as a positive experience. As he told BuzzFeed, "I thank every bully I ever had because that's the only reason I'm here. I learned how to not be affected by it and triumph over it, and that made me. Again, if I had any success whatsoever, it's because these people made fun of me." The dashing star went on to recount the first time he was made to feel like an outsider, exemplifying his ability to turn even the most horrendous experience into a positive. In particular, he was targeted by schoolyard trolls for wearing glasses, telling Glamour, "I wore these glasses that floated on my head. They were called floaters." As he recounted to BuzzFeed, "I remember a kid throwing an orange at the back of my head in Spanish class and calling me Four Eyes, and I remember saying, I said, 'That's true, and I have 2 more eyes than you.' I felt like it was better. If I have 4 eyes, I'm twice as good as you." Gubler's witty comeback should serve as a lesson for bullies everywhere. Supportive parents are one of the most important benchmarks for any child, particularly those who are made to feel like oddballs by their peers. From an early age, Gubler was encouraged by his parents to embrace his creative side and even reclaim the oddball moniker as a form of empowerment. Speaking with Glamour about his upbringing, he said of his parents, "They are the most lovely, encouraging parents a kid could ever ask for. I've been lavished with nothing but encouragement, probably too much." Of his father, he enthused, "He's like Abe Lincoln meets Atticus Finch, and he dresses like that too. I have the greatest parents in the world." As for Mom, it seems that the multi-talented Gubler takes after her most of all. He said, "She's a rancher, a jack of all trades, a brilliant real estate mind, and most of all, just the most loveliest mom. She's a beautiful force of nature." Further reflecting on his childhood, Gubler told Glamour, "I feel an affinity to that kid Manny on Modern Family. As any Modern Family aficionado knows, Manny is a sensitive, highly intelligent kid with a strong sense of solicitousness towards his parents. In the words of Manny, I've always felt out of place at public school, like a lone petunia in an onion patch." As for Gubler, he's one petunia that went on to become the flower of the flock. In the late 90s, Matthew Gray Gubler enrolled at New York University Tisch School of the Arts. He graduated in 2003 with a Bachelor of Fine Arts, but acting wasn't at the top of his list when he enrolled at the prestigious university. In fact, directing was his first love, and he majored in filmmaking. He told Backstage, "I think I veered towards filmmaking because there's more of a sense of control in it. You're not waiting to be picked." Even still, Gubler explained that he was often cast in student films despite his initial aversion to acting. "With those dashing good looks, we're not at all surprised." He added modestly, "That said, in film school I acted in probably 6,000 student films because no other filmmakers knew anyone who wanted to act. It was all a big beautiful snake eating its tail, progressing along the way." However, it wouldn't be long before the actor could indulge in his love of directing. In just a few years, he would find himself juggling multiple passions. As for why he initially decided to pursue acting as opposed to film directing, Gubler has quite the analogy. He told AP News, "I just see it as different tentacles off of the same deranged octopus. I kind of just love making stuff." For Gubler, he's a big fish in a small pond. With his pretty boy looks, Gubler's countenance fits right in with the models of the 2000s. At the time, there was an emphasis on non-threatening, boyish, and almost feminine male models. Subsequently, Gubler's appearance was highly sought after by the scouts of the era. According to CBS, his modeling career began in 2001 when he was a film student at New York University working for some major luxury brands. Gubler told CBS, "I'm in Paris opening up a Louis Vuitton show. It was a thing I knew very little about. It was like someone calling you and asking, 'Hey, do you want to be an astronaut?' Considering his chiseled and dainty features, it's a little hard to believe that modeling was a totally alien concept to the heartthrob." Looking back on his stint as a model with good humor, he contrasted the demands of modeling and acting when interviewed at the MC TV Festival. "The hardest acting of all is doing modeling because it's very seldomly an area where they want any amount of personality. I look at it more as performance art than modeling." Despite his good looks, Gubler remained self-effacing. He added, "It was during a time when modeling went away from the Zoolander buff cool guy thing and into, luckily for me, a scrawny, weird-eyed, long-haired thing." Matthew Gray Gubler's first foray into acting came with Wes Anderson's film The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, starring Bill Murray. Rather than follow the conventional path of a film school graduate, he had the gumption to chase down Anderson, who is one of his heroes. Subsequently, he was made an intern for the indie director, who cast him in a small role also as an intern. Accordingly, he owes a lot to Anderson. He told Glamour, "I'm very fortunate because he was the first person to ever put me in something as an actor, so I'm very grateful for him for doing that." In an interview with another mag, he elaborated on his experience with the acclaimed director. He explained, "When I had to get an internship to graduate from film school, there was an easy way to do it, but I thought, it. Wes Anderson's in New York and he's my favorite filmmaker. For me, in life, it's always seemed that the quickest point between two things is a direct path, so why not go straight into working for and learning from the best? Actually, I was the worst intern ever. Like, he would send me on shopping runs and I wouldn't know what couscous was."
How you holding up there, intern? Doing okay?
There's no denying that the opportunity opened a lot of doors for Gubler, who went on to lend his voice to Alvin and the Chipmunks and soon scored his most famous role. Following on from his work with Wes Anderson, Matthew Gray Gubler was cast in indie film 500 Days of Summer alongside Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Zooey Deschanel in 2009. The film was a natural progression for Gubler, who went on to appear in a string of indie flicks thereafter, including Life After Beth with Aubrey Plaza and the dramedy Endings Beginnings with Shailene Woodley. Gubler noted that 500 Days of Summer marked one of his first roles alongside actors his own age. He told Mademoiselle Robot, "It was great fun to be a part of such a special film. Also, I rarely do movies with people who are anywhere near my own age. I'm usually the little kid in the movies I'm in. Zooey Deschanel is incredible in this, so is Joseph Gordon-Levitt." In the movie, Gubler plays Paul, protagonist Tom's best friend, who offers wisdom amidst his obsessive struggle to win the heart of Summer. The film has been upheld as an example of male fragility, with star Joseph Gordon-Levitt later criticizing his protagonist for forcing his insecurities and selfishness onto a woman. He told Playboy, "My character develops a mildly delusional obsession over a girl onto whom he projects all these fantasies." Regarding that aspect of the film, and in particular Tom's obsession with Summer, Gubler told Mademoiselle Robot, "I am proud of the message this movie sends, a completely accurate depiction of the roller coaster known as love." In 2005, Gubler got his big break thanks to Criminal Minds. He was cast as Dr. Spencer Reid, a criminal profiler with an extraordinarily high IQ who has swiftly become one of the most beloved characters on the show. In an interview with Assignment X, the actor described how he prepared for the challenging role. He shared, "I read a lot of the profiling books, the John Douglas book, familiarizing myself with the crime scene photos to hopefully desensitize myself. And I realized that it's impossible to desensitize yourself to this sort of thing. And I realized Reid probably wouldn't, at that young age, be in any better situation than I am." In further bringing Reid to life, Gubler suggests that his own background of experiencing bullying has helped buttress his characterization of the loner special agent, who often empathizes with teen killers. He said, "Whenever there's a preteen in trouble, Reid seems to empathize with them." With regards to the show's longevity, he pondered in an interview with Glamour, "It's so bizarre it has been on for so long, because in no way, shape, or form does it feel like that. It still feels like day two." This is largely due to the fact that for Gubler, Criminal Minds feels like home. He added, "Family is the only thing I can think of to sum it up. It's a real honor." Subsequently, the series propelled Gubler towards stardom. Matthew Gray Gubler has directed several episodes of Criminal Minds, beginning with Season 5's Moseley Lane in 2010. Altogether, he has directed 12 episodes of the series. Returning to directing felt natural for the actor, who told Entertainment Weekly, "It's sort of one of my main loves in life, so it was tremendous to be in the directing frame of mind and in the chair. It was such an exceptional honor, and just to be asked to do it meant the world to me." The charming actor may be famed for his pretty boy looks, but don't expect him to cast similarly genetically blessed stars anytime soon. He explained to another mag, "I kind of pride myself on my casting choices with everything I direct. There's a tendency in TV in general, not on our show, to go the safe route with casting. You know, the beautiful blonde is the victim, and I like people that have a natural character." Matthew Gray Gubler has many passions and side projects, one of which is painting. His drawings are steeped in childhood regression and often horror-tinged, and his artwork was featured in a 2010 issue of Juxtapose magazine. Regarding his idiosyncratic painting style, Gubler is aware it isn't everyone's cup of tea. He told BuzzFeed, "Some people misinterpret my style of painting as offensive, and I've had instances where I've painted beautiful portraits for like a girlfriend or someone, and they're just like, they look at it with a grimace and they're like, this is terrible. I don't look like this, and you're awful and you must hate me." Gubler uses his Twitter platform to showcase his unusual artwork. In one post, he exhibits a grotesque interpretation of Donald Duck. In another, he depicts a ghost on a platter with a pickle for a leg. Additionally, he bagged a whopping $10,000 when one of his watercolor paintings went up for auction on eBay. But in true Gubler style, he didn't pocket the earnings for himself. According to the auction listing, all proceeds from the sale went to the Smith Center for Performing Arts in his home city of Las Vegas. We would certainly be interested in hearing Spencer Reid's analysis of Gubler's paintings. In the words of his forensic alter ego, sometimes for an artist, the only difference between insanity and genius is success. Seriously, Dr. Reid, help us figure out what a ghost with pickle legs means.
I don't know.
What does a successful guy like Matthew Gray Gubler do at the weekend? Hang with famous pals? Court stunning supermodels? Well, no, actually. He likes to work. Gubler has been pretty open about being a workaholic, which is unsurprising considering his insatiable need to constantly pursue different creative avenues. When Mademoiselle Robot asked the actor what his typical weekend consisted of, Gubler replied, "Saturday evenings, I just stay at home and try and make stuff of some sort, then I eat a pint of ice cream, light a pumpkin candle, and watch a movie. But only after I feel I have done something productive with my day. If I haven't done something productive, I will carry on working through the night." Pumpkin candles and extra work don't sound like the typical weekend pursuits of a Hollywood A-lister, but Gubler isn't typical in any sense of the word. This is nothing new for the actor, who admits that he's always been addicted to keeping himself super busy with work. He told Mademoiselle Robot, "My job is really time-consuming, but it is the greatest in the world. I love to work. Even when I worked for retail shops in high school, nothing is better than a long, hard day of work. If I don't fall asleep exhausted, it feels like a waste of space." We can't help but feel that Gubler is taking his commitment to work to Spencer Reid level proportions, but then again, great minds think alike. At this point, it's really no surprise that Matthew Gray Gubler has a rather frivolous side. It also totally makes sense then that his favorite genre of all is probably the silliest. In addition to painting, directing, and acting, Gubler has ventured into making mockumentaries. In 2006, a year after he found fame with Criminal Minds, he made the satirical short Matthew Gray Gubler: The Unauthorized Documentary. One scene shows the fictionalized, highly pretentious Gubler describing his acting method, which results in an impromptu mime performance. Discussing his humor and mockumentary projects, he told Medium, "That's what I love to do when I can. It's my favorite genre. It was quite shocking to everyone that knows me when I got cast on such a serious TV show. Those documentary shorts were based on some of the people I've come across in Hollywood. They are the funniest people in the world, mainly because they don't realize it." While his mockumentary shorts aren't quite in the league of, say, This Is Spinal Tap or even Borat, Gubler is nevertheless adept at poking fun at the absurdities of fame and fortune. It's this instinct that truly sets him apart from many of his contemporaries. FBI profiler, chipmunk, and now mockumentary filmmaker. Is there anything that Gubler can't do? Just when it seems like Matthew Gray Gubler can't impress his fans much more than he already has, he publishes a children's book. His debut book, Rumple Buttercup: A Story of Bananas, Belonging, and Being Yourself, was released in 2019, with Gubler branding it, quote, "a 136-page hug." However, his original intention was not to write a children's book. Rather, he simply wanted to write a book, which ended up being infused with childish whimsy. As he explained to Parade, "I didn't set out to write a kid's book. I just set out to write a book that I knew I would enjoy, and so I like to think that it's a book maybe for the young at heart. I feel that as people get into their 20s and 30s, they forget how to have fun and just enjoy simple things like books with pictures." In a promo for Penguin Random House, he explained, "My goal with this book is sort of the same goal I've had in anything I've ever made, and that is to hopefully make anybody who feels alone not feel alone. And anyone who feels like an outsider, I just want them to realize that they belong." The book is a #1 New York Times bestseller. Mallory Lohr, who works for Random House, praised the first-time novelist. She enthused to AP News, "He is a true artist. As much as he's a fabulous actor, his heart is here." Matthew Gray Gubler's eccentricity has led to him garnering hordes of fans. In an interview with Medium, he affectionately dubs his admirers Gubloids, which could be a term straight out of Spencer Reid's lexicon. Regarding his love for his fans, he told Mademoiselle Robot, "I'm the luckiest person in the world because besides having the best, most loving, most awesome, and most unique family, friends, and coworkers in the world, I also happen to have the best, most loving, most awesome, and most unique fans in the world. They are so much more than fans, they are fans. Fans/friends. Unlike many other celebs who remain unapproachable or build barriers between themselves and their fans, he actively welcomes Gubler stans into his life. In fact, Gubler's Tumblr and Twitter accounts show him frequently engaging with fans on a personal level. Gubloids are so devoted, it turns out, that they're prepared to get tattoos of their idol's artwork. On Build series, Gubler said that he's touched when fans get said tattoos. He joked, "It's an incredible honor and a responsibility, and I would never want someone to have a dumb tattoo."
I have 4 dolphins on my back, so I know about a dumb tattoo.
Gubler has come a long way since that little Manny-esque boy who was bullied for sporting floaters. The bona fide heartthrob has grown into a star that so many idolize and look up to. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more Nicki Swift videos about your favorite celebrities are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.